The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And tonight we're asking you,
what are you afraid of? Philadelphia's horror home with hosts T. Fox Dunham and Phil Thomas.
Do you believe in the Boogeyman, Phil?
I do, believe it or not.
Do you really?
Yes.
Did you ever see the Boogeyman?
I've seen the Boogeyman, I think, a couple times when I was about 8 or 9.
Did you?
Yes.
What was that like?
He looked like Michael Myers.
Of course. Your Boogeyman's Michael Myers.
Well, doesn't the kid say in Halloween 1 that was the Boogeyman?
Yeah. Right. They never really.
Boogeyman. Yeah. Do you believe in the Boogeyman?
I believe that all kids need a Boogeyman.
Have you seen the Boogeyman?
Have I seen the Boogeyman? No.
No?
Never seen the Boogeyman.
Really?
I would like to be the Boogeyman.
Maybe I thought I saw the Boogeyman, because I remember when I was a kid, like, there was something in my closet. Mm-hmm. I remember watching Phantom of the Opera. I forget which version it was as a kid, and I probably shouldn't have been watching that, but this one, I mean, I was really little, like 5 or 6, and he was, like, unmasked, and I got really scared. I remember that night laying in bed, not being able to sleep, thinking this thing was going to come out of the closet, you know? So that was my own personal Boogeyman, I guess.
This is episode 44 of What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Para-X Radios. At Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, Boogeyman. And I happen to know of someone who believes in the Boogeyman too. She's Galen Chansey. She's an author of ghost stories based on her real-life experiences. The Make-Believe in the Boogeyman Chronicles is a novel based on her monster encounters. She's a tour guide at the haunted St. Albans Sanatorium, and she's been interviewed by TV, radio, internet shows, the news. She's had articles and pictures featured in paranormal magazines and television. She's appeared at job fairs and ghost conferences on paranormal investigation and writing. And she has been the subject of college papers on the paranormal and the supernatural. And she is here tonight with us. How are you, Galen?
I am doing good. How about y'all tonight?
Oh, we're hanging in.
We're doing good.
Doing well.
Glad to hear you're well.
Yes.
Hope nothing's in the closet.
No, I hope not.
Yeah. We were just talking about that a minute ago, about Galen was saying she felt a little bit uncomfortable talking about this material because she was used to a certain amount of stigma in the 1980s.
Yeah. And you know what? They were quick to give stigmas in the 1980s. Mm-hmm. I believe so. You know,
a lot of people thought you were weird.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
they did.
Weird in a bad way, not weird in a good way.
They were passing judgment on something they didn't understand.
Right.
It was, and the clients back then were so uninformed. There was no internet. Mm-hmm. Very little books, especially in a small town. It was just, the information was, at my time, was hard to locate. The research I had to do in different libraries in different cities. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't have the access that we have today.
Right.
Indeed. You've been seeing ghosts your whole life.
Yes. It's normal for me, okay? So I wouldn't know what it was like to not have them in my life. So it's just something I grew up with and something that is normal for me.
Well, how old were you when you saw your first ghost?
Probably around 5 or 6.
What was that like?
Okay.
Well, it was interesting. I didn't know what a ghost was, okay? Because we didn't have cable and we didn't have TV shows, and I was 5 and 6.
Right.
And the only way that I could describe it was they actually were like ghosts that were made up of mist. It was just, that's what they look like. But to me, the only description I could come up with was they were made up with giant spider webs. So you can imagine my parents hearing my description, because I just have no reference to describe them. And, okay, I lived the fact that they couldn't see them, but what blew my mind was, how could they not feel them when they went through them? That was what I couldn't understand. Walk right through a ghost, and there'd be no reaction, and I'd just be mouth dropped open. But they left me alone. They were around me, but they weren't dangerous. They never tried to hurt me. Nothing like that.
Right.
And the thing was, growing up like that, I had to learn that there were different types of ghosts. There are shadows that are totally different than the mist ghosts. Okay? There are phantoms. That's the term I use, because in the 80s it was the term. Perfect example is the hitchhiker that you pick up that looks normal, and you would never think was a ghost, and you turn around, either they disappear or melt away or whatever, and you're like, what was that?
Well, that's how I met Phil.
Yeah.
He picked me up on the road one day, and I melted away.
He disappeared out of the car, and then all of a sudden, he reappeared later on.
I'm sorry, go on, Galen.
But that's what it is. There were just different types, and some of them, like the shadows, weren't as nice as they said, whisper things to you, your mom, dad don't love you, and stuff like that. And ignored them.
Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
The Visitor to the Isolation Room. Told by Auntie Mooney, Clinton, New Jersey. Recorded by T. Fox Dunham and read by David Walton. While staying at the beautiful Riverside Victorian Bed and Breakfast in historic Clinton, New Jersey, we met a lovely older couple, Auntie Mooney and Uncle. After our first night, an encounter with phantom guests on the second floor, we spent our breakfast of crepes, sitting at the kitchen table and talking to Auntie and Uncle about ghosts. Auntie Mooney has always been sensitive and has been the subject of strange experiences all her life, starting in her youth. Of course, she kept these sensations a secret, which is what you were expected to do. It was like living an open secret. No one talked about it, but everyone knew it was happening. When she was a young girl, she suffered pain and lack of sensitivity in her legs. Eventually, the doctors diagnosed her with polio. Then the doctors confined her to a hospital and stuck her in isolation. She was not allowed to come into direct contact with another human being, locked behind thick concrete walls, glass, and a small drawer where she could be given books, toys, and things to occupy her, though every item had to be burned when she was done. She was alone in that cold room, without human contact, scared of what would become of her. Polio was unpredictable, and she may have never walked again. Then one day, something strange happened. A man she had never seen before, but who looked vaguely familiar, opened the locked door and stepped into her forbidden medical prison. The tall man walked in, smiled at her, and said nothing. She just watched, thinking it was a doctor, someone come to poke or prod her. Then, the strange figure stepped into the bathroom, and when she went to look for him, he was gone. No one knew who he was, and shortly after his visit, she recovered. Later in life, she was looking through some old black and white photos with her mother when she saw the man. It turns out he was an uncle from a previous generation, though her mother couldn't remember much about him.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid of? Horror Paranormal Show Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para X Radio and at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com.
What Are You Afraid of on Para X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction. We are ready to scare you.
Para X.
In order for the light to shine so brightly, the darkness must be present. Tune in every Monday at 10 o'clock for Dark Sun Rising on the Para X Radio Network.
What are the shadows? What are they? I mean, because I want to find out from someone who actually can communicate. What are they?
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I can gather, that you're looking at a form that's made of like an orb or a phantom or mist, okay, because they form themselves. And I've seen these orbs and they're amazing, but it's like they have the most energy. What I noticed with shadows is they seem to be depleted, okay? So it's almost like, I've learned over the years, it's almost like they don't have the energy anymore to make themselves being look differently, because ghosts can do that. They have the energy to do that.
Right.
And I realized when I was doing an investigation that the shadows were actually the oldest ghosts.
Oh, they're the oldest ones.
Yeah. Every place I investigate, even though there were several ghosts, generations of different ones, the shadows were always the oldest. So I kind of figured out that, all ghosts are parasites. Every one of them, no matter how sweet they are parasites. They're like vampires. Their energy is depleting because they're here. They're supposed to be gone through the light.
Right.
And they suck up energy, but over time you just can't suck up what you're losing, and you're getting weaker and weaker. So that's what I think the shadows are, and they get meaner. I mean...
Interesting.
Think about if you sent somebody by themselves to live in a jungle for 5 years, okay? That person is totally different than the person that walked in there the first time. This person now is a savage because survival is everything. Mm-hmm. They lose ability to communicate with people, and so that's what these shadows are like. A lot of them are just lost, and they're mad, but they're not actually. Some of them are mean, but a lot of them aren't.
I guess shadow people, I guess they're called, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of them, but I've never knew exactly what they were. So that's great that you clarified that. But they are people that were once alive, though, just like any other ghost. Okay.
Yes, they were, and that's what people got to remember. I tell them, just because it's a shadow does not mean that it's evil. I have to train people because everybody now today thinks a shadow is evil. A shadow is bad. Okay, and I have to explain that there is a difference between being mean and being evil.
Right.
They're totally different, and sometimes you got to accept the fact that these ghosts are scared, they're angry, and they're hanging on to life, and I'm just like, well, you let it go and get a life.
Get a death.
Really, what I have to tell them. I'm not a ghost psychiatrist. I am not there to spend, 3 hours for you to talk about life and talk about people that I've already gone through the light, and they're not even around anymore to remember what you're talking about. So it's, just let it go and forgive yourself and go through that light. It's just as simple as that.
And do you help cleanse houses? Do you help spirits move on?
Yes, because in my world, it doesn't matter if the spirit's good or bad. Okay, I would try to move it on. Even the bad ones, there's that chance, go for it. But some of them won't leave. And the clients don't want the house haunted because some people are truly freaked. They're really, really scared. Really scared. And especially when you're dealing with people who are very religious and don't believe in this kind of thing. All right, and they're just stuck in a corner. But my job is I can't push them out of the house because it's not fair to leave this ghost to find another house and another unsuspecting family. Do you see what I mean? Especially if it's not a nice ghost. So, unfortunately, in that kind of case, I have to trap a ghost. And usually I use a cemetery to trap.
Oh, really? Cemetery?
Yes, I use the cemetery, sacred ground. It's perfect.
Right.
Perfect. You know, yeah, good luck getting a spirit in a box. More power. You know, if you can do that, hey, you got it. I can push a spirit towards someplace, but there's no way I'm going to get them into a tiny little box. You know,
right.
They're drawn to naturally. It's easy to get them in there, seal the walls, still let them know that all they have to do is ask for forgiveness and they'll be rescued. You'd be amazed at these spirits, because they truly do believe, because they are ghosts, that the self-entrapment they cause themselves. You know, like you heard a ghost, like somebody was coming in the door and I kept hearing the doorknob being turned and the door was knocked and a ghost was trying to get in.
Right.
Ghosts can walk through walls. You know, I mean, why does the ghost... So you see what the ghost is doing in his mind or her mind, they had to go through that door because that human part's still working. You know, and I'm like, you know, you got a wall, you're right next to you, you can go right through that. Why are you even messing with the door?
So they do mess with doors?
Yeah, they do that because they think in their mind it's locked and they can't get in. Yeah, and so, you know, I didn't, you know, the reason, you know, a lot of them aren't smart was, first of all, they didn't go toward the light. So, you know, that's not a smart move. You know, and a lot of ghosts, I know you heard my recordings, children get lost, you know,
right.
And I went to a hospital once for an emergency, and there was a car accident. And I saw this man being bringing in two children, and I knew immediately that they were ghosts because I see them in black and white, never in color.
Oh. Right.
And everybody was ignoring them, and it was a little boy and a little girl. And I went back for a checkup and found out there had been a car accident, and the two children had died in a car accident.
Oh.
Father was taken to the hospital. Well, I go back to the hospital for a checkup, and the kids are still there. Dad's home. The reason why was they didn't know their way home.
Ah, right.
Hey, they never been to that hospital before. They were like 4 and 5.
Right.
And so people wonder, how did they get lost? I said, just like that.
Huh.
It happens. You know, you'd be surprised how many lost ghosts are at a hospital. I hate going to the hospital. I would do anything to avoid it just because there's just too many of them. You know, even I can be outnumbered. You know, I might be able to hold myself up with 1 or 2 girls beating me up, but 4 or 5, I'm a pulp on the ground. They've got me. It's the same with ghosts.
Do they react when they realize that you can see them?
You should see the shock on their faces. You know, that they are actually, because sometimes I'll just, you know, talk to them and I can tell that they are real surprised that I am actually aware of them. Shadows will run. And that's common, you know. As soon as you realize it's a shadow, they're gone. So, kind of like scared that you actually really realize that they are there. But in my paranormal world, with what I do, ghosts are part of it.
Wow. When a person dies and they don't cross over and they become stuck here, is it that they don't want to go? Why are some of them here like 50 years? Can they just not at any time leave, or they just don't know how? Or
not counting the lost ones. Remember what I said, most ghosts aren't that smart? You wouldn't believe what they hold on to. Well, he divorced me and he died and went to heaven. I'm not going there.
Really?
You're kidding me. Okay, I'm like, and that happened 200 years ago, which is why she's so upset, because 200 years ago, divorce really, you know, killed a woman's reputation. And I'm rolling my eyes, you know, going, you know, he's probably already in a new life, couple times over, you know. And you won't believe the tiniest, guiltiest little thing that people do that they hang on to.
Right.
That they did, even stuff they did as a kid. They hold on to it, and it makes them feel like they're a bad person. And that's what holds them back, because the trick is God forgives everybody. There is no wrath of God. There's no such thing. I don't believe in that. It's all about love and good, period. Okay? And God has forgiven you. What you're being judged, you're being shown your life, and you're judging yourself. And they're afraid that they're not going to forgive themselves.
Right.
Okay, that's really what boils down to, because they feel so guilty for something so stupid. And my job is to go, you got to let it go, because, you know, even if you did one good thing in your entire life, and that's giving, you know, somebody $5.
So they're afraid to go. They're afraid to cross over because they don't know what's going to happen. They don't know if they're going to be judged.
Yeah, they know they're going to be judged, because the minute they died, they know God existed because a light appeared. Well, then they're going, oh, crap, that means hell exists.
Right.
That fear will keep them from going through the light. So it's all about looking at your life and forgiving yourself for all the stupid things you did. Hello, I was in college for 4 years. Okay, I've got a list. But I did all the good things to make up for it. Check off this, did this good, check off this, another brownie point. You just earn your brownie points over life. And I tell everybody, we're human. We have emotions. We've all made mistakes. Okay? Right. But we are forgiven for those mistakes, and we move on, and we've learned from that experience. As long as you accept that and tell yourself to forgive yourself, you're okay. I talk to people all the time that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of what's going to happen to me once I die. Visiting hospices, and it's really hard for me, okay, to comfort these people who are dying and to let them know that please don't hesitate. Go through the light. You just forgive yourself and what you did, and they'll tell me or they won't tell me, but then I can tell that this person's a good person. Anybody who has empathy is a good person. Right. And it's just telling them that don't be afraid to judge yourself and look at it and go, well, I made a mistake, but I learned from it. Right. And God is all about love. You can't go there to heaven with luggage. All right. You got to let it go. And so I talk to them like I talk to the ghosts. Real person, one-on-one. Everybody come around and listen to me, because usually there's more than one ghost around me. Okay? Right. They feel different. The air feels different. It feels thick. So right. Do that. So there might be one ghost showing themselves, but then I got 10 others surrounding me too. And it's just calming to have that many ghosts around me, and then they start talking on top of each other.
Well, not to talk on top of you, but I just wanted to say what a remarkable thing you said. You can't go to heaven with luggage.
Right. You can't. Yeah. It's just stupid. No jealousy. No. I'm mad at that person because they did this to me 20 years ago. Who cares? Yeah, really. You're the only one that cares. So let it go. Let go of that anger.
We are talking with Galen Chauncey, and we'll be right back with this incredible paranormal spiritual warrior and counselor. Yes. What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on ParaX Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. And you can find out more information about her and our audio ghost story archive, which we're adding to every week, at our website at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com. As a special treat, David Walton, our British folk singer, returns to the show to perform another version of The Unquiet Dead, the first folk song he performed on the first episode of What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show. Thank you, David. Your work is always appreciated.
The wind that blows today, my love, a few small drops of rain. Never have I had but one true love, in cold place she is laid. I'll do as much for my true love as any young man may. I'll sit and mourn all on her grave for 12 months and a day. The 12 month and the day been gone, a voice spoke from the deep. Who is it sits all on my grave and will not let me sleep? it is I, thine own true love, who sits upon your grave. For I crave one kiss from your cold clay lips, and that is all I see. You crave one kiss from my clay cold lips, but my breath is earthy strong. If you have one kiss from my clay cold lips, your time would not be long. My time be long, my time be short, tomorrow or today. May God in heaven have all my soul, but I'll kiss your lips of clay. See down beyond the garden green, where we used to walk. The sweetest flower that ever grew is withered to the stalk. The stalk is withered, dry my love, so will our hearts decay. So make yourself content, my love, till death calls you away.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para-X.
Hi, I'm David Walton, and I drop whatever I'm doing to read whatever Fox and Phil demand of me. My digital, as opposed to ectoplasmic alter ego, is called Brendan Shawland, who regularly plays guitar and sings in a virtual world. Brendan has a website, David doesn't. Bandcamp sales figures would suggest that Brendan's music is decidedly niche. If you want to be in the vanguard of support as Brendan heads towards global domination, just put Brendan Shawland in your favourite search engine, and you'll find his website very close to the top. You'll see what the human looks like, and you can check out the Listen to a Song page to access Brendan's unwillingly private world of creative output.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para-X.
We're back with Galen Chauncey, paranormal spiritual warrior and counselor, and it doesn't sound like she takes no sass from no ghost.
No, not at all.
You know, if you're a ghost, you do not want to encounter her, because she's not going to be all that sympathetic.
She's very steadfast, against the...
She's going to say, get out of your self-pity, ghost, and move on.
That's right.
So let me ask you real quick. Are there any ghosts around you right now?
Oh yes. They stay outside. Let me give you a perfect example. New neighbors moved in a couple of weeks ago with kids, and we're like, all right. And the little 7-year-old came over while they were unpacking and saw me planting flowers, and she was helping me. And I waved to the mom and said, don't worry, she's fine. She's out of the way. Okay. Well, I noticed the old man watching us that was standing underneath the tree, and he was a ghost. And I looked up at him, and I could see him watching the house, and I couldn't tell if he was watching the little girl. So when it comes to children, I'm very protective. I wanted to make sure he wasn't attracted to her. Well, I must have looked at him a couple times, and she looked at me, and she goes, "Who is that old man? I keep seeing him watching your house. He just stands there and watches your house." And the first words out of my mouth was, "You can see ghosts?" And I was so shocked. She was 7 years old. They don't know me. They are moving in. And she asked me, she goes, "Is that a ghost?" She didn't know what a ghost was. I mean, that actually what she was seeing was a ghost. So, yes, they surround my house all the time.
Because they know that you can see them, or is that just a typical thing?
I think that they're attracted to my energy because they were always around me. As growing up, they were always around me. I think that everybody produces energy that the ghosts need, and apparently I must have extra because they were always around me, which is why I'm very good at getting pictures and very good at getting electronic voice phenomena. These ghosts will talk to me. More power to them. I don't know why this happens because I didn't use a lot of tape recorders in the 80s. Made too much white noise. And you hardly hear the EVPs. So when digital came out, I thought, what the hey? And there were so many. I went to Waverly Hills Haunted Sanatorium in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
And I was there for 4 hours and recorded 35 EVPs. Class A. I don't count the Class B or C's. They have to be clear. And so Ghost Hunters, the show, couldn't believe I got so many, so they sent somebody with me with recorder, and the same thing happened.
Wow. Ghost Hunters from Sci-Fi.
Yeah. So they were, just going, how are you getting this many EVPs? So they were trying to prove me wrong. Yet, and they worked with the Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi, I guess, looking for haunted places, trying to get evidence. You wouldn't believe how many people were used just for their evidence. And I didn't care. Yeah, it's out there. I share it with everybody because I believe that's how you learn about the paranormal, is sharing your stories and experiences and whatever evidence that you may have. And they were actually kind of shocked. And were so shocked, in fact, that on one of the recordings, I noticed that while I was listening to it, there were several voices that were saying, "Come on." Okay. And I didn't count them. There were so many I actually was complaining if I hear one more ghost say, "Come on," I'm going to beat it. Because it's all through the tape in 4 hours. And so Adam contacts me and says, we have a voice analyzer that can tell us different voice patterns. So I was like, hey, way to go. And there was just the two of us, and they recorded 6 come-ons, and the computer said that each one was a different voice pattern. And he said that meant that there were 6 ghosts right there surrounding you. And I said, well, yeah, so what? And he goes, but you weren't afraid. And I said, so what? Yeah, I know what to be afraid of, and a ghost isn't it.
Right.
So they were actually really, and I could tell that he was scared for me. And I was like, well, aren't you guys the experts here and been doing this? And, you're experiencing this all the time yourselves. Why is this one experience freaking you out? And it's because of the evidence that was recorded. He never saw a thing or heard a thing.
Wow.
You have a paranormal group that you founded in 2011. That's Afterlife Goes On Investigations. Tell us about your group.
Well, technology is the reason why I ended up getting a group. When I went around the first time, it was just my 35 millimeter camera. Okay, very rarely did I take a tape recorder. Digital came out and I kissed the ground because it saved so much money on exposures you wouldn't believe. But the voice recorders started coming out digital. Video cameras were bigger back then. Okay, and I realized I didn't have enough hands. So I said, if anything, I need people to help me carry equipment and track the paranormal evidence. That's what happened. And this group of people, they're just so taken aback by, not by what they've seen, but just like Adam, nothing they see, there's nothing there. Yet the voice recorder is picking up somebody talking, standing next to us. And so they are wowed by that fact, and they learned that it only happens when you're around. Why is that? And I said, well, that's something you're going to learn. So it's a test. Go by yourself, see what you get. We can go to the same house, they get nothing, but they take me and they get something. So it's really easy to get them hooked because they're so fascinated by that and realizing the ghosts are around. With a group, some get scared, a lot get scared. When something actually does happen, it actually scares them and I never see them again. And some are drawn in just going, wow, I can't believe this. But they like the idea of helping ghosts move on.
I heard that everyone attends their own funeral. Is that true, or is that just something I heard? Okay. It's false.
Yeah, because let me tell you the same thing about cemeteries. I say, well, I hate to tell you all, but most ghosts in the cemetery are visiting the people in the cemetery. They don't.
Right, they're not there.
Okay,
yeah. They don't hang out there. Because there's no energy to pull off of there.
Yeah,
so
there might be one or two ghosts that live in a cemetery, but I said most of these people get pictures or anything or video. What are they doing? They're in front of a grave.
Right.
They're crying or whatever. And I said most ghosts visit. That's why you don't get much in cemeteries, because there aren't that many that, and the funeral homes are the same way. I mean, come on, who hang out in a funeral home when you're dead?
But I heard that ghosts will attend their own funeral. And if there's ever a stray ghost, an earthbound ghost that hasn't found the light, to direct them towards a funeral home, because usually during a funeral, there's a light there. I don't know if how true that is, but
the light appears as soon as really or not. The reason why that could be true partly is because the light appears once you realize that something's wrong. Okay, right. That's when finally you're looking at yourself or something that it's clicking that something's wrong. And as soon as it clicks that something's wrong, the light opens up and you're like, oh crap, this life's over with. And gone. Okay. Right. And so sometimes if they don't get it, but most people know when they died.
Right.
Everybody looks down at the body for a second. Everybody floats out of it. They know that they died. So they're small percentage may be that, but very small.
Right.
Could you tell us about some of your more potent cases with your paranormal group?
The ghosts are one thing I've encountered. Shadow people, the little 3-year-olds will call the bad guy. Encountered a lot of those. But really what I do is boogeyman. To me, a boogeyman is, I know it sounds weird, but it's an unidentified paranormal creature. I can't identify it. It's not a ghost. Okay? So there are things out there that defy explanation, because you're sitting here going, okay, well, this is paranormal, but this is not the ghost that you were thinking of. My expertise is really the boogeyman or the monster underneath the bed or in the closet, but I research missing children under paranormal circumstances. Okay, the child's being terrified, weird stuff like that happens. My job is to go in there and see what's going on. And one time I was doing an investigation and something was just terrifying this little boy, and I was in his room at night and doing my thing. And this is before, my voice recorder and before digital cameras and all this. And I'm sitting there waiting for something to happen, because it said it always came out of closet door. So the closet was half open and the room was dark, and the door cast a shadow behind it. So it was even darker in the corner. And when I looked there were 2 white eyes staring at me. Okay, and they were round. They were round, almond shaped, but standing up almond shaped almost. And they were about a foot off the ground. Okay, and it was just staring at me from the darkness. And I couldn't see its body at all in the dark. It just melded with the dark. Okay, so I'm staring at it, and my reaction is stay calm. Be calm, be calm. What are you reading here? What is it that you're seeing? Because, and then it blinked. And I went, okay. Ooh. All right. Only something alive blinks. Okay. So, and that's exactly what went through my mind. And I'm thinking to myself, am I dealing with, how did an animal maybe get into the room? They didn't have a cat or dog. And I thought maybe, it was some kind of animal. And I'm sitting there trying to figure this out, and it's looking at me, and then all of a sudden, a second pair of eyes right behind the ones, like over its shoulder, appeared. Okay? And let me tell you, to get yourself to sit down and not move an inch, because I'm already sitting down, and my instinct is to get up and run as fast as I can out of the room, because now there are 2 of them.
Right.
So they were looking at me for a minute, and finally it occurred to me that they were looking at me like I was looking at them. It was curiosity.
Right.
Okay. And so when I went to stand up, I was standing up so I can back up a few more feet because I didn't know if it was a wild animal. Well, they must have thought I was getting up to walk toward them because all of a sudden I heard their feet sliding so fast like my dog would on the wood floor, slide so fast, and I could hear them scooting away from me. Number one, their back was already up against the wall. There was nothing to scoot back to. Okay. Number two, turned on the light, nothing. Nothing. No hole, no, nothing. I didn't know how they were getting in and out of the room. So it was a situation of basically live with it because something like that, I said, I call it like slip of dimensions maybe, that somehow that house is sitting on there, and it happens with these houses that there are creatures out there that are either harmless or not so nice and are harmless to a child. So I go in there and I say, well, you got to live with it because there's nothing I can do about that. It's not spirit to pass on through the light. Right. It's a boogeyman. I can't identify what it is, just a general term I've used for years. I hunt more of the mean type of boogeyman. That's the case right there. Shocked me. And I thought I was stepping toward it. Right. I was stepping back, and but I couldn't understand where the scooting noise came from because their backs were already against the wall. So
that's pretty frightening.
That's
that's what I thought too. Because I can have fear. It's just controlling that fear.
We're going to take a break there, and we are going to play a wonderful song from Willie Boo Walker. Haven't heard from him in a while. He's a Canadian blues guy, rhythm and blues, wonderful deep voice. He's got this great, almost burlesque band called the Willie Boo and the Rattlin' Bone Theater Show, and this is Ain't Hungry No More.
I love Willie Boo Walker.
I know. On What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Para X Radio at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and found on all major podcast services.
Your source for everything paranormal, Para X.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
We've all experienced messages from beyond the silver veil, whether we want to admit it or not. Some people take no notice, ignoring these outreaches. Others embrace them, seeing them as evidence of an expanded universe. Whether these stories frighten or comfort, we are reassured.
The mission of What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show is to explore the dark side through paranormal investigation, folklore, and the arts. The show is an audio magazine. We share true ghost stories, dark fiction, interviews with ghost hunters and indie authors, filmmakers, artists, and musicians. We discuss industry issues and offer support. We have a unique and varied theme that creates a show unlike others.
Our weekly show is featured on all major podcast services, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, and YouTube. We are a part of ParaX Radio.
We need your true ghost experiences. So write them down in an email, preferably under 2,000 words, which comes to about 3 or 4 typed pages, and send them to whatareyouafraidof117@gmail.com. Please don't attach them as a file. And don't worry about trying to write like Charles Dickens. Just tell us your story as if you were telling a friend. And if you're not sure if it's actually a ghost story or not, but it's still weird, send it anyway. Also send us your photos, EVPs, recipes, your thoughts, and any artwork.
Check out our website at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com for our ghost story archives, articles, photos, and expanded material. And you can buy t-shirts, mugs, laptop covers, and animals apparently with our logo on it. Follow us at Twitter at PFWhatAfraidOf. That's PFWhatAfraidOf.
You cannot escape the darkness. So explore it with us now at
What Are You Afraid Of? Philadelphia's horror home with hosts T. Fox Dunham and Bill Thomas.
Your source for everything paranormal. ParaX.
My book, The Make-Believe and the Boogeyman Chronicles, is a semi-autobiography about my personal experiences with spirits and the boogeyman. The boogeyman is not a ghost. I don't know what it is, but it was something I had to learn to fear because the ghosts were afraid of it. It went after my twin sister by trying to drag her underneath the bed through this hole in the floor with a blue light shining out of it. It was amazing to watch the floor around the hole rippling like waves. With my feet braced against a bed frame, I held on to her with everything I had and was losing this tug of war. If the Lady Spirit had not helped us, we wouldn't be here today. My parents still did not believe us, but no one can get us to put one little toe back into that house. We went into a nuclear meltdown each time they tried. My father even tried to lock us up in a room to prove nothing was there. Each time, we were found outside running down the street screaming. Window was closed and locked, and so was the door. They couldn't figure out how we were getting outside. We had no idea either, but it finally forced our parents to move. I wanted to know what it was and how to protect my sister in case it went after her again. Without much to go on, it took me years to find a pattern while investigating cases where children disappeared under paranormal circumstances, especially dealing with a boogeyman under the bed or a monster in the closet. I wasn't alone and felt compelled to warn other children of this thing. Show them how to protect themselves when adults don't believe you. The boogeyman is very, very sneaky. Being discovered means it's real. I mean, come on. No parent in the world would ever let their kids sleep alone or without any lights on if they knew.
Willie Boo's a remarkable guy.
Yeah, it was great.
And we'll be doing a full interview with him soon, as soon as we can nail down our schedules.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait. That's great.
But you can find information about Willie Boo on the website at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com, and information where you can buy his albums. He's out there singing his heart out every day.
Yes, he is.
And we're back with Galen. We've made the decision to turn this into a 2-part episode.
Yes, we're going to do 2 parts.
So she'll be returning next week.
Yeah.
To talk about her many ghost experiences. And you have a movie coming out.
Oh yeah, a short film. We just posted it on YouTube on our channel, Film Zero Presents. Please check it out. It's called Doppelganger, and short film, very short, under 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. So everyone go out there, check it out. It's
and I've seen it.
You've seen it.
Yeah.
And it's about a father and a child who is afraid of a monster in his closet. And when the father goes to investigate the closet, there's some unexpected things in there. So yeah,
it's one of those movies that it's what I call blink horror. You blink and the things happen.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very quick. It's under 2 minutes. It's a quick horror fix.
It kicks you in the gut.
It kicks you in the gut fast, and it's a quick horror fix. So yeah, definitely check it out.
And you're working on another film now?
I believe working title we're going to call it The Visit. Mm-hmm. It might change another time, but it's about a bride in a cemetery and a dead husband.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where are you filming this at? Do you have a site?
I think we're going to film this somewhere around Bluebell. There's a really old cemetery there.
Don't expect too many dead people watching.
No, there won't be. Yeah, there's a really old cemetery. I'm talking like I think the newest tombstones are from like 1920 or something. In that particular graveyard, it's very, very old.
Well, that sounds exciting, Phil.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll come out and check this out.
You should come on that day when we shoot, because I know you like hanging out in graveyards.
I do indeed. That's where you found me, hanging on the graveyard.
Yeah, exactly.
After I appeared to you as the phantom in your car, you found me in the graveyard next.
Exactly.
This has been episode 44, Boogeyman, with Galen Chauncey, who will be back on next week on episode 45 with some of our ghost stories, The Whisper Men. Thank you, Galen, for being on the show.
Thanks, Galen.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
T. Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Book. A major motion picture based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was recently released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the Stargate anthology, Points of Origin, from MGM and Fandemonium Books. Mercy was recently released by Bloodbound Books.
Fox is an active member of the Harvard Association. He's been published in hundreds of short stories and articles, and his motto is wrecking civilization one story at a time.
Phil Thomas resides in the suburbs of Philadelphia and is an author and filmmaker. His screenplays have been produced into feature films such as False Face and Always from Darkness that are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon On Demand.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.